Welcome to another episode of Sierra Stories. Today we are going to talk about the father of California skiing, or John Torstenson Rue. You may know him as John A. Thompson or just Snowshoe. People in California called him Snowshoe as they weren't familiar with his skis, calling them snowshoes instead. John Snowshoe Thompson grew up where snow isn't an obstacle, it's simply part of life. As a boy in Norway, he learned to move across winter landscapes on long wooden skis, not for fun, but for survival. Like thousands of others in the 1850s, he came to California chasing gold, hoping the Sierra's promise of fortune would change his life. But like so many others, the gold didn't pan out, so he stayed. He farmed. He lived near the mountains that reminded him of home. Then one winter, when the Sierra's snows isolated entire communities and swallowed the mail routes, he saw his chance. What everyone else feared, what had trapped towns, starved families, and silenced communication, was something he already knew how to conquer. The Sierra wasn't impassable, it just needed skis. Let's follow the 90-mile route Snowshoe Thompson skied, alone, through blizzards, avalanches, and whiteouts, carrying mail, supplies, and hope across the Sierra Nevada. And at the end of this journey, I'll show you where he rests today, in a quiet cemetery in Genoa, Nevada, with a tombstone that still faces the mountain range he crossed again and again on skis. Born in Norway, Thompson grew up skiing as a way of life. Not a sport, not for recreation, but for survival. Skiing was how you traveled in winter. When he immigrated to the United States, he brought that knowledge with him. He arrived in California in 1851, drawn by the California Gold Rush, hoping to strike it rich like many others. But after failing at mining, he found his calling as the legendary winter mail carrier across the Sierra Nevada, using his native Norwegian skis, known as snowshoes. Thompson built long, heavy wooden skis, nearly 10 feet long. They were designed to glide, not sink. He used a single long pole for balance and braking. To the people of the Sierra, he must have seemed unreal, a lone figure gliding across frozen mountain passes where no one else dared to go. Snowshoe Thompson skied more than 90 miles, from Placerville, California to Genoa, Nevada. He traveled alone through some of the harshest winter conditions imaginable, completing the journey in just 3 to 4 days, often in blinding storms, carrying heavy loads, and sleeping in the snow and caves along the way. He carried mail, medicine, newspapers, and supplies, sometimes over 100 pounds, through whiteout storms, avalanche zones, and sub-zero temperatures. And he didn't just deliver mail. He rescued stranded travelers. He carried food to starving families. He brought news to towns that hadn't heard from the outside world in months. There are stories of him arriving quietly in mining towns, frost-covered and calm, as if he'd just returned from a short walk, while everyone else stared in disbelief. What mattered most was this: he always arrived. His success proved something no one else could, that winter travel across the Sierra was not only possible, it was reliable. As Thompson continued his journeys, others began to take notice. At first, they watched from a distance, skeptical, curious, unsure if what they were seeing was even possible. But slowly, people began to learn from him. They studied his long wooden skis. They copied their shape and length. They practiced his techniques for balance, speed, and control. What once seemed foreign, even foolish, began to make sense. Skiing shifted from a strange novelty into a practical solution, a way to move through the mountains when winter shut everything else down. Before long, ski races appeared in California, drawing crowds and competitors eager to test themselves against snow and distance. Winter travel expanded, mail routes multiplied, and skiing began to take on a new identity, no longer just survival, but skill, endurance, and challenge. Snowshoe Thompson didn't just carry mail across the Sierra. He showed an entire region how to move in winter. The modern ski culture we see today, from Tahoe's world-class resorts to backcountry skiers carving quiet lines through fresh powder, traces its origins back to those solitary mail runs, and to one man who proved the mountains could be crossed, even in the dead of winter. After years of crossing the Sierra Nevada in the dead of winter, skiing through blizzards, avalanches, and whiteouts, John Snowshoe Thompson's life came to a far quieter end. He didn't die on the mountain. He didn't disappear in a storm. In 1876, at just 49 years old, Thompson died at his home after a sudden illness, complications from appendicitis and pneumonia. For a man who had survived some of the harshest conditions imaginable, it was an unexpected and almost gentle ending. Today, he rests here in the Genoa Cemetery in Nevada's Carson Valley. At first glance, his grave is simple. No towering monument, no grand statue, just a headstone marked with an engraving of skis. But look closer. His grave faces west, directly toward the Sierra Nevada mountains. The same mountains he crossed again and again. The same winter wall most people believed could never be crossed. And the same range where he introduced something entirely new to the American West. Skiing already existed elsewhere in the country, but it was Snowshoe Thompson who brought it here to the Sierra, not as sport, not as recreation, but as a way to survive winter, and to connect isolated mountain communities when nothing else worked. Even in death, he is still facing the mountains that defined his life, the place where he proved skis could succeed where roads, wagons, and horses could not. He never sought fame. He never claimed hero status. He simply showed up, season after season, when no one else could, carrying mail, carrying medicine, carrying news, hope, and connection, to places that would have otherwise been forgotten all winter long. This quiet grave tells you everything you need to know about the man. No words carved in stone could explain his legacy better than the direction he's facing. Because Snowshoe Thompson didn't just ski across the Sierra, he brought skiing to the American West and proved that even the most impossible barriers can be crossed if you know how to move through them. Long before ski resorts or winter tourism, there was John Snowshoe Thompson crossing the Sierra on wooden skis when no one else could and showing the American West how to move through winter. Thank you for joining us this week on Sierra Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves mountain history. Until next time, we'll see you in the Sierra.